Have you ever found yourself surrounded by half-done projects? A journal with 3 pages written? A habit tracker with 4 checked boxes abandoned on a Wednesday? A business idea that lived only inside your head? If that sounds familiar, let me tell you something uncomfortable. You're not unique, but you're also not hopeless. You're stuck in a pattern, a very human one, that most people never learn how to escape. We live in a culture that glorifies starting, the brainstorming phase, the planning, the I'm gonna phase. That's where the high lives. That's where you get applause, likes, excitement. But finishing? Finishing is invisible. It's quiet. It's when no one is watching and you're alone with the version of you that's tired, uninspired, and deeply tempted to quit. The psychology of unfinished goals is brutal. Your brain loves novelty. It releases dopamine when you imagine a new project, not when you complete one. That's why you jump from one thing to the next, chasing the high of beginning without ever tasting the real satisfaction of completing. And the cost? It's not just cluttered folders on your desktop or tasks piling up in your to-do list. It's something deeper. You stop trusting yourself. Every time you say, "I'll do it later," and don't, your subconscious registers that. It logs a tiny betrayal. Do that often enough and you start believing that you're someone who doesn't finish. And that identity? It sticks. It becomes a narrative that shapes how you approach everything, from your career to your relationships to your health. You don't just procrastinate. You start to expect failure. But what if we flip that? What if you could build a new pattern? One where finishing isn't rare but expected. Not because you forced it with guilt or shame, but because you built it with structure, clarity, and strategy. Let's go deeper. Adopt the identity of a finisher. Let's get something straight. Your brain doesn't follow plans. It follows identity. You can map out your week, color code your calendar, build a Notion dashboard worthy of Pinterest, and still fall apart the moment resistance shows up. Why? Because behavior follows belief. If deep down you see yourself as someone who gets excited, starts things, but never finishes, your actions will reflect that. Every single time. Here's what people get wrong. They wait to finish something big before believing they're capable. But it's the other way around. You don't finish things because you believe in yourself. You believe in yourself because you finish things, even small ones, especially small ones. Let's say you decide, "I'm going to become someone who follows through." That's not just a statement. That's a contract. And every micro-action you complete becomes a receipt. You wash the dishes right after eating. That's a receipt. You close all your browser tabs when you're done working. Another receipt. You send that awkward email you've been avoiding. That's proof. And proof changes how you see yourself. You're not building habits. You're building a case, a legal case, in your own head for the kind of person you are. Every finished task is evidence. Every abandoned one is doubt. Which side is winning? Here's the hard truth. If you identify as someone who never finishes anything, it's not your personality. It's your pattern. And patterns can be changed, not overnight, but one finish at a time. Start talking to yourself like someone you trust. Say, "I close things. I complete things. I may do them messy, slow, or late, but I don't leave them to rot." Identity isn't built on hype. It's built on repetition. You are what you repeat. So next time you're tempted to walk away mid-task, ask, what does a finisher do here? Not the perfect version of you, just the version that keeps showing up. You'll be surprised how much changes when you stop negotiating with yourself. Design your environment for success. You think your lack of consistency is a discipline problem. It's not. It's an architecture problem. Let me explain. Your brain is constantly scanning for friction and ease. If something feels hard to start, even slightly, your mind will unconsciously look for an easier route. And let's be honest, in 2025, easier is everywhere. Scroll instead of start, check instead of create, escape instead of engage. You don't need more willpower. You need fewer traps. Your environment is programming your behavior whether you like it or not. The question is it programming you to finish or to flee? Let's break it down. Where you work, how you begin, and what surrounds you are all part of your behavioral code. If your workspace is chaotic, 5 tabs open, notifications pinging, yesterday's dishes nearby, then guess what? your mind feels chaotic too. Confusion on the outside becomes confusion on the inside. So, what do? You run. But what if your space invited clarity? What if starting felt frictionless? Put your phone in another room, not in your pocket, not face down, gone, out of reach. It's a distraction grenade. Remove it. Light a candle before you begin. Play one specific song every time you work on that project. These aren't aesthetics. These are rituals, anchors, cues that signal it's time to begin. And here's the powerful part. Every time you start, it gets easier to finish. Why? Because your brain loves familiarity. Build an environment that whispers, "We've been here before. We know how to close this." You don't rise to the level of your motivation. You fall to the level of your setup. And if your setup is messy, unfocused, and full of dopamine leaks, you will always struggle to close loops. Ask yourself, is my environment designed for focus or designed for escape? You don't need to throw out all your furniture or become a minimalist monk. You just need to build spaces that respect your energy, places that make it easier to begin and harder to run. Because the easier it is to start, the more likely you are to finish. Break projects into finishable pieces. Here's something nobody tells you. The main reason you're not finishing things is because you're trying to finish the whole thing at once. You don't need more ambition. You need smaller steps. We've been sold this idea that productivity is about pushing through massive to-do lists, powering through fatigue, and grinding until you collapse. But the reality, the most consistent finishers aren't the ones who hustle harder. They're the ones who reduce friction ruthlessly. They turn mountains into pebbles. They shrink build a website into open the laptop. The trick isn't to be more motivated, it's to be less overwhelmed. Let's say you want to start a YouTube channel. Don't write launch channel in your notes. That's a trap. That's a cliff. Instead, write choose a topic. Then, write 3 video titles. Then, film a 30-second intro. Suddenly, you're climbing stairs, not cliffs. Your brain needs to feel progress. Tangible, visual, stupidly small progress. Why? Because progress generates dopamine, and dopamine is the fuel of consistency. Every time you complete a micro task, your brain celebrates, even if you don't, and that small celebration creates a loop. That felt good. Let's keep going. But if you try to leap to the end, you freeze, you doubt, you quit. The solution is segmentation. Break the thing into absurdly finishable chunks. Not just write report, but write intro paragraph. Not clean the house, but fold 5 shirts. And yes, that might feel laughably simple. Good. That's the point. Make the task so small it's almost embarrassing to skip, because once you start, you'll probably keep going. Momentum is a side effect of micro wins. Also, celebrate out loud. Not with cake and fireworks, but with recognition. Say, I did it. Close the tab. Cross it off. Let your brain register. Completion happened here. Completion is not just the end of big things. It's the muscle built from closing small loops consistently. Let me ask you something. What's one big project in your life right now that you keep avoiding? And if you were forced to break it into the tiniest first step, what would that step be? No drama, no delay. Becoming the person who finishes everything. Let's be brutally honest. Most people will never change because they're waiting for motivation to save them. They're waiting for the perfect moment, the clean emotional state, the clear calendar. And in that waiting, their life slips by in half-finished intentions. But that doesn't have to be you. You don't have to be the person who finishes everything perfectly. You just need to become the person who finishes consistently, who respects their own line in the sand, who sees tasks not as chores, but as emotional contracts. Not because the task matters, but because you do. Finishing isn't just about progress, it's about identity. Every time you finish, you vote for the version of you that can be trusted. And the more you trust yourself, the less you need to hustle for external validation. Because there's power in knowing that when you say you'll do something, you actually do. Imagine living like that. Imagine being someone who says, I'm going to take care of this, and then just does. Quietly, without drama, without waiting to feel like it. That's not just rare, it's revolutionary. Here's a challenge for you right now. Think of something you've been avoiding, a message, a tiny task, a 2-minute responsibility. Pause this video, go do it, then come back. Why? Because we don't need more theory. We need action in motion. Not because it changes the world, but because it changes how you see yourself. And let me leave you with this. You're not tired because you're weak. You're tired because you're dragging the weight of 100 open loops, mental tabs that never got closed. You don't need a life overhaul. You need one clean finish, then another, then another. So, what was the last thing you finished? 100%, no shortcuts, no applause. And what would happen if you started measuring your worth, not by how many things you start, but by how many you complete? You don't need more time. You need fewer exits, fewer abandoned drafts, fewer quiet promises broken to yourself. You are not behind. You're just one finish away from momentum. Start ugly, end proud, then do it again.